Ladies and gentlemen, very pleased to welcome Kru Sean Douglas. Sean, great to see you, man. Pioneer in the Asian martial arts scene, former fighter, coach. You know, you've kind of been there and done it all in the fight scene. I want to catch up with you this week, particularly because you're going to be cornering Superbon again. He's going to be defending his one featherweight kickboxing world title against Marat Grigorian. It doesn't get better than that, man. I feel like you were there for that crazy, maybe knockout of the year contender against the doctor, Giorgio Petrosyan, right? So how did your relationship with Superbon begin? You're based in Singapore now, right? How's everything going for you there? And how did this come about?
Yeah, really busy here in Singapore. You know, I've been really lucky, you know, with this pandemic to get this gig over here for a couple of years. So I've got a lot of clients, but not training a whole lot of fighters. And Superbon's team reached out to me because, you know, as you know, Muay Thai is quite a small world. And I had spent quite a long time in Thailand. So they know that I'm based here now. So their management and sponsorship reached out, and they just wanted someone from the home team to take care of them, you know, because a lot of times the guys, especially during the pandemic, some of the coaches couldn't fly into the country. They weren't vaccinated, or, you know, they didn't want to go through all the protocols. So me being based here was just really good luck and great timing for them to reach out. I worked with Petrosyan, which was, you know, he's on the same team. So, you know, that was my first gig that I got there, and it was a great outcome as well. And then that just rolled into them asking me to cover this event, and built a little bit of relationship since then. And yeah, so I'm super excited to get that cage side seat. That last fight was just absolutely incredible. And being that close to the action, that kick was absolutely insane. Actually, Superbon fighting two of my favorite fighters as well. So it was pretty wild, you know.
You've seen hundreds and hundreds of fights in your time. You know, you've been involved in plenty, fought Lumpini, right? So where does that knockout rank for you, the Petrosyan one from Superbon, in terms of the best knockouts you've ever seen, or best knockouts of all time?
I would say it's definitely falls into the top 10, you know, especially now and against the caliber of fighter, right? I think the build up to this event and fighting the doctor, I mean, this guy has been unstoppable forever, you know. So I think just because of that, you know, and how he did it and how quickly the fight was, he came in to the fight with an absolutely great game plan, and he executed it to a T. But yeah, I'd say it's in the top 10. You know, it's hard when you're sitting ringside in those big major stadiums in Bangkok, and, you know, maybe they don't have so much media coverage back in the day. You know, some of those knockouts were just absolutely brutal, right? I mean, there's just dozens of fighters like that are pulling off incredible knockouts. But I would definitely throw it in the top 10.
Yeah, I think as well to do it. Yeah, it's the opponent and the stage and the stakes as well. There's a lot of different factors. So talk me through this fight. I think, well, first of all, I think it's interesting, right? Because you talked about the relationship building. I mean, you could be seen as part of this good luck charm, right? Part of this team. Everybody wants to keep everything the same, you know, after things went so well. What do you think, without revealing too much of the game plan, what do you think Superbon needs to do against a guy like Marat, who's arguably, you know, these two are the very best in the world right now? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And this is another, you know, this is the rematch, right? They had faced each other before. Superbon came out on the losing end the last time. You know, I've seen this guy fight. He's incredibly strong. He stays in the pocket. He's willing to trade. You know, he's got a lot of power. He's dangerous everywhere. So I think it will be relatively the same approach, you know, to keep him outside and keep him at the distance. But as we can see, like Superbon and those head kicks and that flexibility, he can throw kicks from very close inside. So I would assume that they're going to take similar approach. Maybe a few slight changes, but I definitely don't want to get into those things. But yeah, I think using the tip, you know, and you know, he's just such a powerhouse. Superbon, I don't think people realize how heavy his legs are. And just even his push kick or his tip and his timing is just incredible. And I think he's actually just improving and improving and improving. I don't think he's even hit his ceiling yet as far as like his ability and where he can go with this. So I think it's going to have to be keeping him outside, keeping him out of range, keeping him, you know, away from those combination punches. And I think that, you know, it'll go our way. As far as the good luck charm, that's exactly what I sold them on, Andy. That was exactly what I sold them on. We want to keep things exactly the same because, as you know, the Thais are pretty superstitious. So I'm pushing for that 100%.
Marat has never been knocked out. I mean, the TKO referee stoppage in 2008. Is there a chance? Are we going to see Superbon knock him out here? Or could we see a repeat? Could we see what we saw against Petrosyan here?
I think if he comes as aggressive as I've seen him in his last fight, there is a very good chance that will happen. I think if he plays a little bit more cautious, then the likelihood of it going the distance is pretty good, I think. But you know, he has a tendency to want to come forward and stay really close and trade combinations, throw those heavy punches and kick combinations. So I think that's going to work in our favor. Again, as long as we can keep him at bay a bit, attack maybe the legs and body a bit to get those hands to drop slightly and then come upstairs.
So what do you think is the biggest headline here for the fans ahead of this fight?
Headline, that's a great question. I think, I mean, obviously this one's great if we're just talking about this event, right? But there's so much going on with one right now, and the events that they're pulling off, even during this pandemic, it's pretty incredible. I'm sure you see the Demetrius Johnson fight coming up. That's got this really interesting fight where they've got, you know, the change in rule set. I think if you know, if you watch his fights, he likes to, you know, he likes to stay in the pocket as well. Like most Thais, they stay relatively close. There's not a lot of that footwork that you're going to see in mixed martial arts. And Demetrius Johnson, the GOAT, is one of the best at it. His footwork is incredible. And I don't think he's going to want to go in the pocket and trade. I think he's going to be very smart. He's an intelligent fighter. So as long as he moves, it's going to be a really frustrating first round for Rodtang. And I think, you know, as long as he uses his footwork and doesn't engage, you're going to see a lot of Rodtang beating his chest and screaming and telling him to come forward. And that's just not going to happen. I think with the type of footwork, it's very different than Muay Thai. And to be able to be mobile like that and run a bit is a smart way to go until he gets through that first round. And there's just no way, you're going to pick up the ground skills or the ground defense after spending a lifetime in Muay Thai, unless you've really put in a few years of work against someone at the level of Demetrius Johnson. So I think once we get into that second round, it will go quite easy for Demetrius.
How impressed have you been with a guy like Jonathan Haggerty, who hasn't had a fraction of the fights that some of the Thais have, but you know, he looked incredible against Munkulpet, who's had, you know, over 150 fights, throwing spinning back elbows, which maybe isn't the stadium style, but is he doing something new for you?
Oh man, this guy is definitely on the top of my list. I'd say the very top of my list for guys that are non-Thais that are fighting. If you noticed when this last fight, the big difference was the footwork. You know, him bouncing around in and out, using more of a Western style sort of kickboxing approach, with then very authentic Thai techniques in there. I think this guy is absolutely incredible. By far, I'd say he's the best. I would put him at the top of the list as far as, you know, non-Thai fighters. Incredible, absolutely exciting, tough, durable, athletic, and has a completely different approach. That game plan was executed beautifully. You could see that the Thai was absolutely frustrated. Again, that Thai style is wanting to stand quite close, minimal footwork, and just blast, each other back and forth and trade blows. And he just wasn't having it. His in and out footwork was absolutely beautiful. I really appreciate that style. I think, unfortunately, Thailand has kind of lost that after the golden era because of the gambling and, the round 3 and 4, it's all about inside clinch work and the knees score high. So, but if you look at the golden era of Muay Thai, it's much similar to how he's fighting now, with footwork. If you look at Put Lawlik back in the day, Samat, Samlat Kum Singh. I mean, this is this kind of stuff that this guy's pulling off, and he's definitely one of my favorite guys by far.
One thing I wanted to ask you, going back to Superbon, because of COVID and because of fighters dropping out a lot, we've got Sidichai fighting Chingiz Alazov in the final of the Grand Prix. So is Superbon and the team, are they ready for, anything happens to Marat, are they ready for a late shuffle?
Absolutely. I think they're ready for anyone right now. I think he's just on his way up. He just got off a really nice tour in the U.S. Superbon. He was all over the place with Petrosyan, but still training, still working. Definitely didn't get lazy, and came right back into Thailand, right back into training camp. He's bouncing around quite a bit. He's got a lot of people in the background. You see Trainer Gay, he's like the main guy, but Superbon's got quite a network of people getting involved. And obviously he is the poster boy for Thailand right now. So he's got a massive amount of support and incredible trainers, from boxing coaches to Muay Thai coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, sponsorships with nutrition. I mean, it's just on such another level now compared to the days when the guys were just fighting in the big stadiums and not really evolving in the way of sports science and nutrition and stuff. So Superbon is definitely that next level, and I think they're ready for anything that they throw their way.
What's it like holding pads for Superbon? Has he got the hardest kick you've ever felt, do you think?
It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely, I've been really blessed to hold for lots of Thai guys, and obviously our camp in Singapore, a little plug, shameless plug, Fight House Thailand. Yeah, he's definitely up there. He's definitely on the top 2 to 3 people. It's truly overwhelming. You need a guy like Trainer Gay. You need a guy that's big and durable and is willing to take a lot of blows to work with someone like Superbon at his level. Yes, he kicks extremely hard. His punches are extremely hard. I mean, the guy is just so heavy in everything that he does. So this brings me back to the question about the knockout. I think it's definitely he's able to do that in any area, whether it's hands, punches, knees, kicks. But again, it just depends on if he's going to come aggressive, and come in and very dangerous to be coming aggressive with Superbon that way.
Last one then. This is an interesting one for you. I mean, you've done so many martial arts, both in competition, both in coaching. It's an interesting one for you, cornering the champ right now. Are we going to see more of you? Because Singapore seems to really be the hub for one championship. Are there going to be other dudes who are like, oh, we've got a really good asset for us here? Is this something that intrigues you over the coming months?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in a lot of talks with a lot of different camps now there, and it just works well, I think, because I've spent a long time in Thailand and I do understand the sport, and me being based here really helps logistically, right? Having to bring people in and out, and yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more of me, Andy. I've already been in talks also with Petch again. Nothing's signed just yet, but I think we're going to see him soon again as well. And of course, Pet Indy has his own crew, and they're always coming in and out. So I definitely won't be handling those guys. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this next year unfolds. and hopefully I extend out. You know, it looks like November was the original gig for me, and then I would head back to Thailand and potentially maybe over to Dubai or somewhere. But I'm looking at the extension now, so we'll see what happens. If that's the case, you definitely will see a lot more of me, Andy.
Looking forward to it. Always good to catch up with you, man. Respect.